So first up, it is Steve Watkins against Steve Baskerville. Twin Ford Mustangs, one from 2018, one from 2022, both running 5-liter engines. Steve Watkins coming up to Mission Raceway Park for the first time ever 2 weeks ago. Made the drive all the way up from Arizona, took the win in Vancouver Car Wrap Sportsman. Said his goal was to try to go for a championship here. Put another track on his belt, and got off to a good start with the win last week. Didn't make it to the final of Pro Bracket. Trying to do so this afternoon. 044 to a 005 light. The 005 comes from Baskerville to the Lordco lane. Watkins goes 1204 at a $1.18. Well, Baskerville pretty much dead on it. 1216 at 114. And that'll bring up Dale Northgraves and Cassie Tippy. The Ritchie Racing Engine 77 Nova, sporting 414 cubic inches of small block Chevy motor, faces up against the wagon on the far side with that beautiful 65 Nova. Just a little bit of maintenance going on here in the left lane. Down on the starting line. Red, 2/10 on the good. Headed up to the top end of the racetrack, Dale Northgraves going to clock into the quarter. 10:38 at 128 miles an hour. Cassie Tippy goes 11:54 at 115. That will now bring up Mike Render. The Fountain Tire Chilliwack, Fortin's Auto Parts, Lordco Auto Parts, and AFD Petroleum 1985 S10 going up against Ralph Ehlers with the Junkyard Dog Mustang, sporting that 6-liter Ellis motor on both sides of the track. Both competitors pretty darn even as they head down track. Mike Render, though, with the 003 light, will get there first. 1082 at 123 miles an hour. Ralph Ehlers goes 1072 at 121. That brings up Pete Legg, that old vintage 56 Chevy, going up against Brandon Piscachet. The Buick Racing Motor in Canada with Thomas, 1990 Ford Mustang Fox body. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. Super Pro, Magtoy System, Super Pro, we need you on standby. Super Pro, this is your standby call. Piscachet gets there first, goes 13:22 at 100 miles an hour in the 088 reaction time. Legs RT over a 10th, goes 13:39 at 95. And next up, oh, how about this? Chris Stone brings up the Stone Cove Racing Willowbrook Motors Dodge Dart. That's not what's unusual here. What is unusual is Jim Banky not running the wheel standing Barracuda of old. Running a 7 scale. So maybe some troubles have befallen the old Barracuda. Stone in the 008 light goes 1007 at 130 miles an hour. 77 at 91. Next up, Jesse Gard. Lavish Landscapes Gourmet 2S10 face off is Dylan Scott with Yellowstone Warco Auto Parts, Advanced Diamond Warco Auto Parts, 1970s Chevelle. Next up, it's Matt Warner. The Linden Service Center Plymouth will go up against Daryl Tippy with Horizon Paint Chevy 2. .006 red for Daryl Tippy, Matt Warner. Going to be going to a 10:39 at 125 miles an hour. Tippy, 10:49 at 125. Bring up Mal Patterson to Malfunction, Acadia for Albion Tireland, and Maple Ridge Express Care and Valvoline Oils. Going up against Lorenz Schwartz, the winner from last week. Trying to go 2 for 2 for Titanium Auto Group above a speed shop in the 1983 Monte Carlo. Patterson goes 10:29 to the $131. Lorenz Schwartz on the right lane goes 10:18 at 131 as well. Next up, it's Daryl Stobie with the 64 Chevelle. He races Sean Langley. Up high for Daryl Stobie, goes 10:23 at $127 against Sean Langley's 12:22 at 113. Bring up Heather Hornall, the Stone Speed Shop, Heather Hornall Real Estate, Brady Electrical and Acura locates Dragon Wagon. Going to do battle with Ross Walker's Preston Chevrolet Chevy 2. Goes 998 at $132. Hornall going to go 1107 at 114. Next up, it is John DeBack and Ray Bollinger. The Rad Torque Systems S10 for Titanium Auto Group going to go up against the Just Mechanical and A&A Customs Pontiac. Attention in the pits. Rad Torque Systems Super Pro, bring them on up, lanes 1 through 4. Rad Torque Systems Super Pro, lanes 1, 2, 3, and 4. And Mountain View Harley-Davidson Motorcycles, you are on standby. DeBack goes 10:42 at $127. Ray Bollinger goes 10:48. Nothing on file yet for the Vega over here tower side. For the Plymouth Duster or Lorco side, it's Lucas Taggart. Oh boy, neither driver's reaction time very stellar on that one. We're talking 0.5 and 0.6, so lots of improvement needed on the starting line from this pairing. Left lane goes 11:74 at $122. Taggart goes 13:46 at 95. Next up, it's Rob Monroe Jr. for the Winter Harbor Marina and RV, Gibson's Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint and Auto Body, Acadian. He goes up against the Reflections Guesthouse SS Motorsports 1989 S10 of Richard Love. Monroe goes 10:58 at $124. Love goes 11:72 at 110. Bring on Walter Johnson and Terry Hootstons. The 72 Chevelle goes up against the 66 Chevy out of Maple Ridge. Johnson 002 red on the tree follows up with a 1234 at 82 miles an hour, while Terry Hootstons goes 11.8 at 111. Next up, it is Craig Johnson. The BC Scale Johnson's Custom Exhaust Malibu was making some rear bumper strikes last week alongside Nick Douglas in the 2023 Super Bee. Drivers bump it a little bit further forward. Either one wanted to be the first one in. Johnson still carries the wheels high. Slams down to terra firma and goes out the back door with a 10:59 at 121 miles an hour. Nick Douglas goes 12:11 at 110. John McLean, the Falcon Off Racing 69 Ford Falcon, goes up against Rob Getz with the 2024 Ford F-150. It's a 10.99 to an 11.61 at 121 and 118 miles an hour, respectively. Andy Klosky down track, gonna bring his 81 Camaro to an 11.19 and 124 miles an hour. So first pairing up in National Tire Wholesale Pro Bracket for second round of qualifying. Jesse Gard brings up the Lavish Landscapes Kelowna 1982 S10. Going up against Dylan Scott with Yellowstone Lorco Auto Parts Advanced Diving Chevelle. Front wheel carry there for Dylan Scott. Jesse Gard taking down track with them. Scott should get to the top end first. Next up, it's Brandon Piskacek and Steve Baskerville. Twin Mustangs, one from the 90s and one from the 2020s. Baskerville goes 11.92 at 117. Piskacek 13.18 at 101. For the next pair, it'll be Lucas Taggart with the 1976 Plymouth Duster, racing against Chase McKenzie with that 73 Vega. McKenzie goes 10.89 at 123 miles an hour. Taggart goes 11.75 at $1.13. That brings up Ray Bollinger for the Just Mechanical A&A Customs Pontiac, racing against Steve Watkins with the 5-liter 2018 Ford Mustang. Small delay as safety personnel stepped on track at the top end just to take a look at things, make sure everything was in tip-top shape. They are now clear, and we're ready to rumble once again. Bollinger goes 10.55 at $1.24. Watkins goes 12.10 at 1.15. Next up, it'll be Daryl Tippy versus Dale Northgraves. So the Nova wagon going up against, well, a regular Nova, we can call it. 65 versus 77 on this one. Cat Stippy goes 11.53 at $1.15. Northgraves 10.33 at 1.28. Next up, it's Lorenz Schwartz and Walter Johnson. Titanium Auto Group and Bubba Speed Shop Monte Carlo facing off against the 1972 Chevelle. Schwartz, and he'll take that run out the back door. Goes 10.17 at 131. Johnson goes 11.08 at 119. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. Super Pro to lanes 5 and 6. Super Pro bringing them up to lanes 5 and 6. Super Pro to 5 and 6. Next up, it's Ralph Ehlers and Mike Render. Happy birthday, Mr. Render. Yet another year of racing with us here at the strip. 1991 Junkyard Dog Mustang going up against the Fountain Tire Chilliwack Portland's North Waterparts AFD 85 S10. 2 red lights on that deal. Ehlers went 10.65 at about 28, while Render goes 10.83 at 118. That'll bring up the Albion Tireland, Maple Ridge Express Care, and Valvoline Oil's Malfunction Acadian, headed up by Mel Patterson, versus Daryl Tippy with a Horizon Paint 62 Chevy 2. Anderson goes 10-8 at 132. Tippy 1050 at $1.25, and that'll bring up Jim Banky with a 1973 Scamp going up against Chris Stone with the Stone Cold Racing and Willowbrook Motors Dodge Dart. Stone goes 10:07 at 130. Banky 14:79 at 91. And then it's Pete Legg and Ross Walker. The Chevy versus the Preston Chevrolet Chevy 2. Once again, Super Pro, you have been called to the lanes. Super Pro, be making your way on back to the lanes. Super Pro to the lanes. Ross Walker goes down, goes 10:02 at 131. Leg 13:54 at 83. Next up, it's Craig Johnson. Craig Johnson going up against John Tabak. BC Scale Johnson's Customs Exhaust Malibu Wagon facing off against the Rad Torque Systems Titanium Auto Group S10. Craig Johns goes 10:54 at 122 versus John Tabak, who went 10:39 at 128. Leaving Andy Klosky running the Designs for and Lorca Auto Parts 1983 Camaro against Terry Hookstons. Dual running today in Hot Rod as well as in Pro Bracket. Top end of the racetrack, Klosky goes 11:20 with a Ford, 124 miles an hour. Hookstons 11:82 at 111 miles an hour. And that'll bring up Daryl Stobie with the 64 Chevelle. He races against Heather Hornall for the Stone Speed Shop, Heather Hornall Real Estate, Brady Electrical, and Acura Locates 1978 Fairmont. Stobie goes 10:02 at $1.28. Hornall 10:99 at 120. Next pairing up, it's Richard Love, the Reflections Guesthouse SS Motorsports S10 will go up against Rob Monroe Jr. for the Winter Harbor Marina and RV Gibson Racing's Transmission, Horizon Paint, and Autobody 1969 Acadian. Next up, it's Monroe going down track. He will take Love to a 10:52 at 125 miles an hour. Love 11:71 at $1.14. This rolls us right back around to Nick Douglas going up against, I do believe that is Rob Getz. The F-150 facing off against the 23 Super B. 178 at 119 miles an hour. Douglas 1209 at 112. And that leaves the Linden Service Center Plymouth of Matt Warner against John McLean with the Falcon Off Racing 1969 Ford Falcon. .007 on the tree for Warner. A good launch, goes 1041 at 125 miles an hour. McLean goes 1127 at $1.18. And Steve Watkins and Cassie Tippie, the first pairing up here for National Tire Wholesale Pro Bracket in eliminations. 12-12 to an 11:53 between the 5-liter Ford Mustang and the 65 Nova wagon. Watkins goes 12-14 on the 12-12 dial, takes out Cassie Tippie, already on track to taking the second win in his career here at Mission Raceway Park. Lucas Taggart and Chase McKinnon to the next pairing up. One of these racers is very green. Taggart trying to keep out in front of McKenzie, not going to do it. Chase McKenzie gets around him by almost a quarter per second at the top end. Next up, it's going to be Rob Monroe Jr. for Winter Harbor Marina and RV Gibson's Racing Transmissions. Rides paint and auto body with the 1969 Acadian. Dials in 1057 against Ray Bollinger with the Just Mechanical and A&A Customs Pontiac. Dialed in at 1053. Top end. It'll be double breakout. Monroe Jr., though, takes out Bollinger. Next up is Jesse Garr, dialed in the 1199 for the Lavish Landscapes Kelowna S10, going up against Dylan Scott for Lorco Auto Parts, Advanced Diving, and Yellowstone Chanel, down at 1017. Top end of the racetrack, it'll be Dylan Scott as double breakout. Only 15th out under for Scott. Guard was 700 something. Bring up Brandon Piskachek. The Buick Racing Motor in Canada with Thomas Ford Mustang dialed in at 1320 against Craig Johnson. With the BC scale, Johnson's Customs Exhaust Malibu wagon dialed in at 1058. Hasn't struck the rear bumper so far today, but we'll see if that will change. A little bit of a staging duel there as neither driver wanted to be the first one in. Piskachek blinks first. Might have just scraped it a little bit there. Fires down track. Can he get around Brandon Piskachek? Yes, he does. Gets him by 300. So Craig Johnson moves on. Bring up Lorenz Schwartz with the Titanium Auto Group. Bubba Speed Shop Monte Carlo down in that 1020 against John McLean for the Falcon Off Racing 1969 Ford Falcon down in that 1092. solid light on the tree for Lorenz Schwartz, 007, and he'll take that to a win. Gets around John McClain and move on to round 2. Terry Hoogstein's next one up against Nick Douglas, 1180 to a 1211. The Chevrolet going up against the Super B. Red light start for Hoogstens, goes 005 right on the tree. And moving on is going to be into the next round. Dale Northgraves and Matt Warner, the next pairing up. The Rich Racing Engines Nova will face off against the Linden Service Center Plymouth. Double red lights on that pass. Dale Northgraves going to be moving on with the automatic win. 035 under for Northgraves. Warner was 049. Bring up the birthday man, Mike Render. Runs the Fountain Tire Racing S10, dialed in at 1088. Alongside the Junkyard Dog Mustang of Ralph Ehlers, dialed in 1072. Double breakout, as it'll be Ralph Ehlers moving on. And well, plus side for Render, he can celebrate his birthday a little bit more effectively now. Bring up Mal Patterson and Ross Walker. Albion Tireland and Maple Ridge Express Care and Valvoline Oils, 1968 malfunction Acadian, dials in 1011. To the Chevy 2, down to the 1003 of Ross Walker. Takes it as Mal Patterson goes under the dial by 12 thou. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. Super Pro, we need Super Pro to lanes 1, 2, 3, and 4. Super Pro, bring them on up, lanes 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll also bring up motorcycles to lanes 5 and 6. Motorcycles, come on up, lanes 5 and 6. Baskerville goes red. Kowalski locks in with him. Chris Stone goes up next and wins as Heather Hornall goes under the dial by 800ths. Next up, it's Walter Johnson and Daryl Tippy. Johnson brings up the 72 Chevelle, racing against Daryl Tippy's Horizon Paint Chevy 2, and Tippy going to take out Johnson. So Walter Johnson goes home. And that'll bring up Pete Legg and Jim Benke. Benke, of course, running the car that doesn't get a lot of use with the 73 Scamp. Down in 13.99, the legs 13.39. And how about that? He's going to move on into round number 2. So Banky was just looking for points, and he's going to actually end up moving on to the second round. So how about that for him? Next up, Richard Love and Daryl Stobie, the Reflections Guesthouse SS Motorsports S10, facing off against the Chevelle. 11:68 to a 10:04. Goes 10:07, and how about that? Literally got there at the exact same time as Richard Love. The margin of victory 0.0000. The thing that won Stobie that race, Love was under by 0.0005, breaking out by 5/10 thousandths of a second on a complete dead tie, down probably to at least a centimeter, if not closer. Next up, it's John Beck and Rob Getz. Oh, and Tobacco's red by 2/10,000ths of a second. So John Tabac out in round number 1. Trip Zip with a 2 red on the tree. Getz moving into round 2.
So it looks like we've got the winner from a couple of weekends ago, Lorenz Schwartz in the white Monte Carlo. Going to take on Dylan Scott. Dylan Scott in the Chevelle out of Kamloops. Dylan dialed in at 10:15. Lorenz Schwartz dialed at 10:17. So just 2/100ths of a second will separate them by the dial. That'll be the stagger to the tree. So Lorenz Schwartz out of Langley wants to thank Titanium along with Bubba's Speed Shop and Gutter Tech. So a couple of green lights, one a little better than the other. Side by side at the finish line, it's Lorenz with the win. Takes 12 thousandths at the stripe to go 10:20 on his 10:17. Dylan Scott was closer to the number. He was behind on the starting line. So Lorenz Schwartz off to round number 3. That'll set up Del Northgraves and Rob Monroe Jr. Couple of Novas. Monroe Jr. is your winner. Northgraves turns it way red. So Monroe with a time trial. Here in round 2 goes 55 with an 8 on the 56. Definitely had the car dialed right. Now it's Daryl Tippy, Chris Stone. Chris Stone for Stone Cold Racing. Dialed 1007. Tower side behind the wheel of his Dart. Tippy, his little Chevy 2, dials 1051. So a couple strong reaction times here. This race is on. At the finish line, it is Daryl Tippy. 1057 on the 1051 dial. Good enough. Get this at the stripe. It was Tippy there first by 1/10,000th of a second. So Daryl Tippy moving on to round number 3. Stone had the starting line advantage 022 to 029. Now Daryl Stovey and Jim Benke. Stovey does a good job of being patient. And he's going to catch Jim Benke before the 1,000-foot mark. Easy win for Daryl Stovey. 10:20 on the 10:06. Good enough. Benke could only manage a 1487 on the forced dial, 1399. Now Andy Klosky and Steve Watkins. Andy Klosky from way up north. Steve Watkins from way down south. Andy Klosky wins the battle of the red lights. Klosky 13 red, Watkins 22 thousandths of a second red. So Andy Klosky is going to be coming back. So just for good measure, Steve Watkins gets to the stripe first by 4 thousandths of a second, goes 12:13 on the 12:12. Klosky also won above, 11:22 on the 21. Now Craig Johnson, Ralph Ehlers. So Craig Johnson dialed in at 1057 behind the wheel of the wagon. Ehlers in his Mustang dials 1068. And the burnouts commence. Ralph Ehlers in the Junkyard Dog. The red Mustang you see tower side, dialed 1068. Again, Craig Johnson in the wagon. Look for the big wheels up launch. Ralph Ehlers is red by 79 thou. Craig Johnson was less than stellar with an 062 light. Gets a freebie out of the deal as his win light was on. Runs it out, goes 53 with an 8 on the 57 dial. Now Chase McKenzie and Nick Douglas.
Chase McKenzie now taking off after Nick Douglas headed on down track. And Chase McKenzie not going to get around him as Douglas wins it on the double breakout. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. Super Pro to the lanes. Super Pro, come on down to the lanes. That is Super Pro. Come back to the lanes for round 2. also turned on the red, but it's a wind blight, as is red not as bad as gets us. Douglas is into the semifinal round. Dual reds for that pass. Klosky 26 red. Douglas only 8. Next up it's Daryl Stobie and Lorenz Schwartz. 11:04 to a 10:16. Boy, something going awry there for Stobie. 0.7 of a second under his dial. Went a solid 10:33 on the 11:04. Rob Monroe Jr. going up against Ross Walker, 10:53 to a 10:02. The Winter Harbor Marina and RV Gibson Racing Transmissions. Horizon Paint and Auto Body Acadian faces off against the Preston Chevy 2. Top end of the racetrack for this pairing. At the stripe, it's going to be Rob Monroe Jr. by 0.005 of a second over Ross Walker. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. We need Super Pro back to the staging lanes. Super Pro, you should be making your way on down. Super Pro, back to the lanes. Craig Johnson and Darrell Tippett, the next two up, 10:55 to a 10:52. One running the Chevy 2, the other running the Malibu wagon. Top end of the racetrack, Darrell Tippett takes out Craig Johnson. A puff of smoke for the Malibu wagon, but looking like things are gathered up, possibly just break smoke. So Craig Johnson is going to be moving into his trailer, while Darrell Tippett is going to be sent into the second round, the semifinals. There we go. Bracket. Lorenz Schwartz, Rob Monroe Jr. Titanium Auto Group and Bubba Speed Shop over here, Tower Side with the Monte Carlo dials in 1014. Winter Harbor Marina and RV, Gibson Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint and Auto Body dials in 1053 on the right side.
Just 5 thou difference on the starting line. Here comes the finish line, and it says Rob Monroe Jr. is going to Another final round? Is that what we just saw? Was that a semifinal, Nolan?
It sure was.
So Rob Monroe Jr. going to two final rounds here on Saturday. 10:53 with a 5 on the 10:53 dial. He was 13 up front, so that's 18 thou total. Put that together while taking 7 thou at the stripe. Nicely done, Rob Monroe. Lorenz Schwartz was 018 up front, then 10:14 with a 7 at the finish line. So he's 7 thou above. Monroe Jr. was 5 thou above and won the starting line battle by 5 thou. That was quite a drag race, let me tell you. So here comes the second half of the semifinal round in Pro Bracket. Nick Douglas and Daryl Tippy. So Daryl Tippy coming up, right-hand lane, dialed in at 1050. Nick Douglas in the blue Super B, tower side, dial 1227. 3 bulbs lit, waiting on Nick. Now 4 bulbs, we are ready to go. Couple of green lights, both of them strong. 15 thou between them. At the finish line, it is Daryl Tippy going to the final round. How about that, baby? 10:51, 125 miles an hour. Nick Douglas goes 12:21 on the 12:27. A little greedy at the stripe, taking 83 thou. So Daryl Tippy off to the final round. It's going to be Daryl Tippy and Rob Monroe. Rob Monroe already with a hot rod win under his belt today. Going to try make it 2 in a row. Look at this. They're going to dial 4 100ths of a second apart. Practically heads up. So Daryl Tippy, tower lane for Horizon Paint. Rob Monroe in the spectator lane for Winter Harbor Marina, Gibson's Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint, and Auto Body. Tippy, dial 1048. He'll be the quicker of the two. Monroe, dial 1052. Final round in Pro Bracket. Rob Monroe trying to make it 2 in a row today. Daryl Tippy trying to get in his way. Wow, just 1,000th of a second apart on the starting line. These guys are getting it on. Finish line says Rob Monroe gets it done. 2 in a row. He was 009 and dead 6, 15 total. Tippy was a 10 light, then took 18 thou at the stripe to wind up 46 with a 6 on the 48 dial. Awesome job to both of you guys. Well done. Rob Monroe, nice job today. 2 wins. Pro Bracket and Hot Rod. Well done, sir.